Hi everyone, welcome all of you to our YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial, I will explain you about text to columns tool in Microsoft Excel. This tutorial will be a part of our video series on data cleaning in Microsoft Excel. Earlier we discussed about how to handle duplicate values using Excel, and in this tutorial, let's talk about text to columns feature. I'm pretty sure most of you might have heard about this and most of you might have even used this tool before. In this tutorial, I plan to take a deep dive into the concept of the text to columns and explain how it works using 3 practical real-world examples. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our LinkedIn page as well to stay in tune with more updates and insights. If you only want to listen to or watch a specific part of this video, we have added the timestamps in the description so that you can just click one of those and jump right into the section that you want to watch or listen to. So without further ado, let's jump into Excel and see what we can do with Excel's text to columns. Here, like I said, I will explain this concept with the help of 3 practical real-world examples. As our first example, I have picked a case where we are presented with a list of names, which is a combination of first name and the last name, and it is in the column called full name. We have names like Emma Johnson, Noah Smith, Olivia Brown. Now our objective is to split this into first name and last name and create 2 new columns. Like I have done here, I have created new column B to hold the first name from the full name, and then we extract the last name part from this column A and put it in the column C, right? So how can we get it done using text to columns in Microsoft Excel, right? My first step is I am selecting the cell range where I have data. I'm going to the data tab, and then I am selecting text to columns icon in the data tools group, right? The moment I click on text to columns, I'm getting a columns wizard, a convert text to columns wizard, which is a 3-step process. So here we first have to pick a data type. First one is the delimited. Delimited means your data is separated by some sort of a separator like a comma or a pipe or a tab, right? That is what delimited is. And if you select fixed width, it lets you manually set breaks in your text at fixed intervals. Maybe you want to break your text after the first 2 characters. So that is the fixed width. 2 characters is the fixed width there, right? So that is what fixed width does. In this tutorial, for the first 2 examples, I will be using the delimited option. And for the third example, I will be using the fixed width option so that you guys have a better understanding about what both these options means. Okay. So in this case, since we have a full name value in our column A and it has been separated by a blank space, literally the full name, the two names, first name and last name, are being separated or delimited by a blank space, right? So that is the reason why we are picking the delimited option here, right? Now that's done, we'll hit next. Now we are into the step 2 of this process where you need to set the delimiters that your data contains. In this case, it is giving us like 4 default options. One is the tab, the semicolon, the comma or a space, or else if your data is like delimited by something else, maybe like a pipe or a /, then you need to hit select this other option and type that delimiter. In our case, we don't have to do that. Luckily, our data is separated by a space and that space option is presented here. So I will tick that. I will untick the tab. And then the moment that you select that space, you can see in the data preview over here, it shows you a quick preview as to how your data will look like after you apply the text to columns feature, right? So it looks nicely. The values are being separated from the space and they are splitted into 2 different columns, right? All good. Let's move on to the next step. Now we are almost there. We are at the final step of this process where we have to pick a column data format. Most of the time, if you are dealing with text data, just pick general. That's the common typical practice. Yes, you can choose text as well, but as a rule of thumb, if I am presented with some text data and I'm just doing a straightforward text to column split, I will be going with general, but it's totally up to you, up to your judgment. But most of the time you can pick general and it will do no damage to your task. Okay. So now that I have picked general and your data preview is still here, it's all good. And this is important, the destination. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to split my column A from a space, that is my delimiter, and then put the data into two new columns called the first name and the last name. Maybe in your case, you just want to replace the full name column with first name and last name, right? So it depends on your requirement. In my case, I want to retain my original column, the initial column, and then extract the data to two new columns. That's what my requirement is. But in your case, you might not care about the full name column at all. You are just happy with the two columns, first name and the last name, right? If that is the case, meaning you don't care about full name column at all, you can pick cell A2 as the destination. The moment that you feed that value to Excel, Excel will start doing the text to column split from that cell. But in my case, I just want to split my data into two new columns. Therefore, I will pick cell B2 as my starting point. So I will click this up arrow and then I will specify cell B2 and hit enter. Okay, now we are all good. Sorry, I clicked somewhere else by mistake. Let me do this. So we are all good. We have B2 as the destination and I will hit finish. See, now we have three columns in total in our data set. First column is the full name and then we have the first name and the last name. That is how you can split data into two columns if your data is delimited by a space or any other character or any other separator for that matter. All right. Let's move on to our next example. Dates. This is interesting, right? So most of the time, especially if you are a data analyst or an accountant, you get to deal with dates a lot, right? Let's say you are presented with a data set which has dates and you want to extract the year, month and date from that date values, right? In order to get this done, you can easily use text to columns. Here's how you can do it. First, you select these values, the date values, and then go to data and then text to columns. You can easily follow this path as well. But in this, since we followed this approach in the early example as well, I will show you how you can access text to columns using the keyboard shortcut. I will hit Alt A E. See, I got the convert text to columns wizard. Here also my text is delimited. But if you draw your attention to the preview, you can see even though we have dashes to separate years, months and dates, we have forward slashes here. Why is that happening? Let me explain it to you. If you pay your attention to the bottom right of my window, you can see my system date is in the format of, it's in the North American format where I have the month, date and then the year, right? So whenever you feed a data value to Excel, in the front end, it can show you any format that you specify, but behind the scenes, it is translating everything into the default format that your computer is set up to. Behind the scene, Excel is translating all these date values to the date format that your computer is using. That is exactly what has happened here. You entered dates in a format that you want, meaning years, months and dates. But behind the scenes, since my computer is using something else as the format, month, date, year, Excel has translated those values and those are the values that is coming into this text to columns wizard, right? If that is not a problem to you, yes, of course you can go ahead with that. But since my requirement is not that, I want years, month, dates separated by a dash. That's the format, that's the date format that I prefer to use. I'll quickly show you how we can fix this, right? First, I will go to control panel, and then let me search dates, set the date and time and date. I will go to change date and time and I will go to change calendar settings And here, see, for short date, my format is month, date and year. I will change that to years, month and date, and I will hit apply and I will hit OK. Okay, I'm all good. Let me cancel it. Let me open the text to columns wizard again. My shortcut key is Alt A E. Now you can see the changed behavior. See, now the format mentioned in the preview, format that you can see in the preview, and the date column, column A, is exactly the same. Now we are good to go ahead. Let me click next here. So by default, Excel remembers the previous delimiter that you used if you perform the text to column operation at least one time in the same Excel workbook. That is what is happening here as well. Since in our first example we used space as the delimiter, it has remembered it, and it is suggesting us, okay, maybe in this time also you want to choose space as the delimiter, but it's not the case this time. And the delimiter that we want to use is the dash, and unfortunately we cannot see that in the predefined set of delimiters, so we'll have to pick other, and then I will type dash. See, in the preview below you can clearly see how my data got splitted, and that is the exact way I want it, right? I will go to the next step, and here you can specify the data format. In this case I'm happy with general because I am extracting the year, month and date separately from my date. So I'm happy with the general format, and the destination exactly the same as the previous example. I want to retain the date value, and I want the year values to start from cell B2. I will click this on cell B2 and hit enter. Now I think I'm all good. Let's hit finish. See, we got everything in a very nice format. We have year here. Let me type year. This is the month, and then this is the date. See how convenient that was. You just had to go through the 3 steps quickly in the text to columns dialog box, and now you got your data separated into 3 new columns. So that is how you can extract year, month, date values when you are presented with a date value in a data set. Cool. Let's go to our third and final example. Here, assume you are presented with a bunch of flight numbers. You are a data analyst in an airline company, and you are presented with a bunch of flight numbers, and you want to extract the airline code and the route number from that flight number, right? So now what we can do is, if you clearly observe the data, let me zoom it in a bit. The first 2 characters are like alphabetical characters. You have AC, DL, BA. It indicates the code of the airline, and this flight number is like 6 characters in length. So the first characters is clearly the airline code, which is an alphabetical letter. Okay, so that is established. That is the pattern that we see in the entire column. All right, and the last 4 characters is the route number of the flight. Cool. So how can we split this? How can we extract this information from the flight number? Let me first select the cell range, and then I am using the shortcut key combination to open the text to columns wizard, Alt A E. Here, instead of picking delimited, I am choosing fixed width because I want to manually specify the breakpoint in my data. Selecting next. In the next step, I want to manually specify the break line. See, it says this screen lets you set field widths, meaning manually specifying the delimiting spaces. To create a break line, click at the desired position. To delete a break line, double click on the line. To move a break line, click and drag it. In my case, I want to create a break line. As it suggests, click at the desired position. My desired position is this. Alright, now I have clicked on the desired position and I have created that break line. I will hit next. In the data preview, you can clearly see now there are 2 columns, one with the 2 alphabetical characters and the other column with the 4 numerals. Okay. Here also my date format would be general as usual, and the destination would be B2 because I want my data splitting to start from there. I will go here and then I will select B2 and hit enter, and then I will hit finish. See, in a split second your data got separated into 2 columns, one with the airline codes and one with the route numbers. Now you can use this data maybe in a pivot table, maybe in some sort of a chart. If you were to do something like this manually, it would have taken hours, but with the help of text to columns, you can get it done within under a second. Also keep in mind, these are not the only techniques that you can achieve the same results. You can use some text function. See, of course, you can use the left function here to achieve the same result, but I'm just explaining you text to columns is one of the most fastest and most efficient techniques in a scenario like this, but feel free to experiment with other techniques as well. Since the focus of this tutorial is text to columns, I wanted to demonstrate this exercise with the help of that technique. Alright, so at this point of this video, I hope you guys have a clear understanding about how this tool text to columns could be used in a practical scenario. And if you do have any comments, suggestions or questions related to the content that I walked you guys through today, feel free to drop a comment. I am more than happy to answer your comments. Cool, that wraps up today's tutorial. In the next video, let's dive into another game-changing topic in Excel. If you found this video useful, don't forget to hit that like button and share it among your friends as well. And if you still haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon next to it as well. Thanks so much for watching this video until the end. I really appreciate that. See you in our next tutorial. Until then, take care.